So what I wanted to share with you today was a little bit about a course that I recently developed. And at our university, they have codes, just like any university. And this one's Culinary for 11, Food and Culture International. And before I go into that course, I'll tell you a little bit about Wilmington University if you don't know it. We are in Delaware, located with 8 different locations. We have 5 partnership locations. As you can see there, New Jersey, Maryland. We are a private institution, nonprofit, tuition driven. We basically, our students are typically adult learners, and so it's a commuter school. We currently have about 19,000 students and growing. The Chronicle recently said we were the second? Where we are doing about it? Third fastest growing university in the country. So we're middle state accredited, private, nonprofit, I think I said that. We have over 92 online programs. Now that includes concentration, certificates, graduate programs, 3 doctoral programs. And we started developing and creating online courses and programs in 2007. So in 7 years we were able to create 92 programs. And that was with a lot of help from a lot of people. We currently have about 7,500 students taking one or more course online, over close to 5,000, 100% online. And that comprises about 37% of our seats. Now our seats are, so one student could be taking 5 classes, that's 5 seats. And our students typically are female, and now this is the online demographics, and it pretty much replicates face-to-face. So like I said, the adult learner, we're in Delaware, New Jersey, but our online students are also in Maryland, PA, and the other is just all the other states. We haven't really advertised outside of our region. So anyone that was going to Wilmington University online or even face-to-face and then they moved away, they decided to take the online option. Like I was at a conference in Nevada, the Blackboard conference one time, and I was able to connect with one of our students and met her for dinner. And that was her story. She said, I was going to Wilmington University, my husband got a job transfer, and I just stayed online. So that's a little bit about us. Like I said, I work in online learning and educational technology, which is under the umbrella of a new college. Our president named our area an actual college now, which is unique and different, I know. But the College of Online and Experiential Learning. Within this team, and a lot of the team members are in this room, they're being wonderful and they've joined us here, but we oversee online planning, administration, instructional design, instructional technology, multimedia services, training and support, and so forth. So let me get into why you came here today. So we have this course, it's an elective, and it's the type of course that fills up the minute they open it up. The students just gravitate to it. And why? Because the instructor that teaches this course and developed it long ago, she would take them out to restaurants. And so there was a lab fee, $85 lab fee. And they would either go out to restaurants occasionally, or she would have someone come in and they could sample wine and cheese. So it was a very popular course. So I was really, really tired of my background is elementary education. I was teaching an elementary education, same course for years, and I was just so tired of it. And I said, I really want to do something fun. I just want to create a course, and I want it to be online, and I want it to be fun. And I love food. I'm a foodie at heart. I go out to dinner all the time. I love restaurants. I'm part of a group in Delaware called the Mid-Atlantic. It's like this group that gets together and they put on this big foodie event every year. So I can't say I'm an expert, like I'm not a food anthropologist or something like that. But I knew I was passionate enough about it, and I knew I could learn, and I figured I could do this. This is my background. I know online learning, so how could I make this course fun? So I went to the chair that oversees this course. He said, absolutely do it, Sally. He just trusted me with it. He said, go ahead and put it together. And I knew I had to do something with the lab fee. So what was I going to do? These students were paying $85, and I wanted it to be fun. And they could live anywhere. And so the course got on the register, but nobody was signing up because they didn't know. How could you take a course online? They didn't know anything about it. So I said to someone on our team, Dean Davis, I said, could you come up with a tagline for this course? And he made this little module. And so if you know Blackboard, when you first open up, you could have these little modules. So we put the module right there when students opened up Blackboard. It was filled up like that. And so this is what he made. Homework never tasted so good. And a class that's completely online. The lab free includes a cooking kit. That's what I decided to do with that money that the students were paying. And, it was enticing. Register today, limited seats. So it filled up. So then I had to go about actually making it, right? So planning and design. And at our university, we literally have like 3 months to create a course. And it was summertime, and I was already busy. But what did I start with? I started with the syllabus. So we have generic syllabi, but all of the face-to-face course, all they gave me was this little section on the second page, 6 outcomes. That's all I got from my chair. I was like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to create this course completely online, make it fun, make it as interesting as that face-to-face course? So the first thing I did, and I think I have it in my bag. First thing I did was I went and I looked at textbooks, typical textbooks, but nothing really suited our needs or what I really wanted to do. Then I found, have you ever heard of Great Courses? Great Courses it started out as audio lectures by famous lecturers who were just amazing at giving lectures. They would record them. Then they started to get into the videos. And so this company, Stanford or Harvard students who started it years ago. But I found this course, Food, a cultural culinary history. And I bought it and I started watching his videos and I was like, oh my gosh, this is it. This is it. He's got so much background because we typically have a textbook, that expert that's written a textbook. And once I found it, that helped me guide through. So if you turn to the next page, you'll see where I took those outcomes and then I wrote learning objectives. And I decided to incorporate as many tools in Blackboard as I could and create like hands-on fun activities. So if you go to the next page, if you look at this, because what do students want to know? They want to know what they have to do for homework. They want to know what's due and how many points. So if you look at each week, what I did was I came up with a point system. So there's 2,000 points. Each week is about 300 points worth of work, approximately. And you'll see that here under points. Time on task, I estimated how much time it would take. Now, because they're not meeting with me face-to-face and they're meeting online, I had to figure out the time that they would have typically met face-to-face. And at our university, our courses are 7 weeks, 5 hours. So that's 35 hours worth of time spent with the instructor, and then time for homework, because that's separate. So I did try to make the students really aware of how much time it would take to do these assignments. And I was just guesstimating, but I developed it, so I figured I kind of knew how long it would take. Now, they had to watch 5 lectures a week, which was 2.5 hours of lecture, 30 minutes. And students told me later they sometimes listen in a car on the way to work. They found different ways to listen to it or just hear it. So that really seemed to work. And then what I did, because the chapters went through time, so this book goes from paleo to like right now, like foodies and GMOs and what's happening with genetics and food and scientific food and that sort of thing. But because the course was international, I wanted to pick each week a culture to focus on. So you'll see week 1 was Greece, and then week 2 is India, and then week 3 is the Aztecs or Mexican, and then week 4 is French. Week 5 is African Moroccan. Week 6 is the Americas. Because big business, once the food trade changed in World War II and people came back and they started to want faster foods and packaged foods and that whole thing happened, and then I end it with foodies in the future. So the next thing I want to share with you Is an example of an assignment that one of my students turned in. Now, she was in Charleston, South Carolina. And a lot of my students, lucky me, were nurses. They were RN to BSN. And if you know anything about a nurse, they are the best students. They work really hard. They give lots of effort. And you really, really appreciate their work ethic and their assignments. So you'll see here now, in this particular example, I think this was week 2 when they go to an ethnic grocery store. So imagine living wherever you live in the whole United States, and your responsibility is to go find an ethnic grocery store. And I try to gear them towards an Indian grocery store, but if you've been to one before, then I say pick a different one. And as I was doing this research, I started to go to a lot of different ethnic grocery stores. Now, I've always gone to my local because I love foodie. I've gone to my local Indian grocery store and Korean grocery store, but I'd never been to like an African grocery store and some of the other grocery stores. When I started to go in, when you walk in and you all of a sudden get these smells, the people that are servicing you may not speak English very well. They sometimes sell other things other than food. And so the experience for the students by just going to these ethnic grocery stores was amazing. And I think this was one of their favorite activities, in addition to they had to go out to dinner at a different, ethnic food restaurant that they'd never been to before, twice. And then each week they had a food prep activity where they actually had to cook particular foods. So in this case, where you see here with Heather, so she writes out her whole story and what happened, and then she gives us the collage. And so what I used for this particular activity in Blackboard, and I'm not having the best time of trying to get back and forth to this. How many of you know Blackboard pretty well? Yeah, so you'll be able to visualize what I'm saying. But I used the blog tool for 6 of the assignments. And instead of making a separate blog tool for each assignment, I made one blog tool, gave it the bulk points, which I think were like 700 points. And then as the weeks went on and they would add additional posts to their blog, instead of like in the discussion board where you give comments to threads, I would give comments to that particular blog. And other students would give comments to that blog. But what was nice was I taught the students how to make the blog look like this. Like they embedded the pictures right into the blog instead of, I would have some students who would attach documents. It was hard for me to grade. If you've ever graded a Blackboard blog, it's insane if they don't like put it right in your face for you. So that's just a teaching tip. So this is just one example of many. I was just blown away at how much fun we had in this course. It was beyond anything I could have ever imagined compared to other courses that I've taught. And I just want to show you, I'm going to show you this particular document. This is an example of the kind of directions I supplied. You have to be super, super detailed with your students of what you want them to do. You have to say exactly, what you want the paper to look like. So here's an example. And if you cross-reference with my syllabus, you'll see that this is one of 2 different ethnic dining experiences that I had. And I gave them some rules, some different links to go to. In the first week, I asked the students to join like Epicurious and Yelp and Open Table because many students have cell phones. They didn't have to, but it helped out. And I could clearly read from their journals and everything. They were doing these things, so everything that I provided worked. Now, I did figure out quickly on, I had students who said, wait, Dr. Raceman, I cannot afford to go out to dinner. That had never occurred to me. Oh my gosh, what was I going to do? How was I going to help the student get this ethnic dinner or experience or match the objective of what I wanted them to experience, right? The outcome. So I quickly, if you see my alternates, this one student, she was just so wonderful and she was so precious. She was going to quit the class, and I said, absolutely not. You will not quit this class. We will figure out, and you're helping me figure out how to run this class in the future. So it was bugging me so much, and I'll never forget. I woke up in the middle of the night and I was like, that's it. I can come up with some dining out options. So if you see, visit the restaurant, right? Speak during non-busy hours, speak to the chef. Just walk in there. Go in there, learn about it, write a one-page reflection. Create a list of 10 ethnic restaurants that you might like to visit. Attend a local festival, try something new, cheeses, and write about that, or cook something different. So this was something I learned early on in my teaching career, even in K-12 when I was a K-12 teacher, that you have students with different interests. And in her instance, she didn't have the money, but oftentimes students just want to try a different kind of project. So giving them options to still meet the criteria and objectives for the course is a good idea. This student picked out listing the 10 restaurants, and then I think she did something else. In a later assignment, I even offered to watch a movie and critique that. So that's an example of how I tried to make sure that the students had options, whether they had the money or they didn't have the money, and that sort of thing. Same thing with this is the book that comes with the videos. The videos can come in either DVDs or live streaming on this website. That same student, what I did was I had 2 of these books and the DVDs. I mailed it to her with a postage paid envelope to send it back, and she did. And so this class, I'm teaching it again, this block, and I haven't had any student have any financial needs. Now, the difficult part was I wasn't able to get this in our bookstore like I wanted to for financial aid to pay for it, but so I'm still working that out. Any questions about that part? So as you can see, the outcomes and learning objectives were really important. Aligning the assessments and the assignments, making it authentic, learning, hands-on, even though they're at a distance. Occasionally a student would say, I'm out in the country, like we have nothing to go to. And once again, there's alternatives that come in handy. Using various Blackboard tools, Kaltura and Swivel. If you haven't heard of Kaltura, maybe you were at Russ's presentation, but we purchased Kaltura, and that allows us to embed videos into our courses. And so I'm going to show you, excuse me, a little bit about that. So one thing that the students were really super excited about was week 5. Week 5 is halfway through pretty much. And in week 5, in week 1, I asked them to give me their address, because even though you think the data is accurate in your SIS, they don't want things shipped to that place, they don't want everything. So I have this cooking lab kit shipped to their home for that $85. And what I was able to do, I was able to negotiate with a local vendor, Kitchen Culture. And I picked them because they actually have their warehouse in Delaware. It's a small business, trying to support a small business. He used to have a storefront, and then he moved to online shipping. Oh, perfect. So I went to Dave, the man that owns Kitchen Culture, and I said, hey, could you help me get a tagine? Now, if you've never heard of tagine, a tagine is a Moroccan cooking vessel. And it's this vessel right here, and the lid pops open, and you can cook on your stove or put it in your oven, but you end up making these stews. And it tastes a little bit like Indian food in a sense, but Moroccan food tends to have a little sweeter flavors where you'll add more cinnamon and honey and things like that. So they received this cooking vessel. It's a very good one too. I forget the name. Emily, it's French. It's a French. I don't know why the French are making the Moroccan cooking vessels, but that's the way it goes. And then I went to the Indian grocery store and I made this spice. So let me show you that. So in week 1, they give me the address. After drop ad, I take the addresses and I mail them to Dave's company. Dave then ships out the tagines with my letter, and with the tagine actually comes with, the packet comes with the recipe they're supposed to follow, but I printed on here for you. But I also give the students the recipe for the spice, and I've actually made this spice for them. And so they get shipped to their home, and they're so excited. They send me messages and texts, and they're like, I just opened my tagine. It was like, they're different colors. It was purple, the one you had was red, and that sort of thing. So at home, they make their teaching recipe. And like I said, every single week, they're cooking up a storm at home or wherever. And some students travel, and they've told me, you know, oh, I got a residence in so I could cook. It's awesome. So this is the letter that I sent to them. Oh, and I forgot to tell you. Oh, so in week 1, what they do is they preserve lemons. Has anybody in here ever done that? Preserve lemons? Have you? Good. Good. So you take the lemons, you cut them, you salt them, put them in like a mason jar, fill it with lemon juice, and it's lots of salt. And it takes 30 days. So that was the reason why I waited 30 days to make the Moroccan dish, because they had to preserve the lemons. Preserved lemons aren't easy to find. And plus it's an experience. And it's easy and it was inexpensive. So the first week, they preserve the lemons, and it's the Greek week, and they also make hummus. You would not believe how many people have never tried hummus. It blew my mind. So the experiences these students are having, like they invite friends over and get them to test their foods, their family are trying their foods. So they make the lemons and the hummus, and that's because it's the Greek week. But we're getting ready for the Moroccan week. Then in the second week, they actually go to the Indian grocery store to visit one, but then they also shop for spices, and they get an eggplant and they learn to make ghee. Remember ghee? Ghee is clarified butter. So again, I tried to like really think of, was it reasonable? Could they do it? Is it something unique? Is it something different? And does it fit the culture? And then in week 3, they make this chocolate drink and a tomato dish. Week 4 is my French week, and that one's so much fun because I love Julia Child. Love it. And they make eggs Benedict and hollandaise sauce. Week 5 is the Moroccan dish. Week 6, oh, this is funny. Week 6, they actually make, and this will be funny because this particular block hits Thanksgiving. So week 6, they make a casserole. And the casserole is really a green bean casserole. You know that one with that awful condensed soup? Even though it tastes so good and you put those fake French, it is not healthy for you. Read the labels, people. This stuff is junk. So I actually get them to use fresh green beans and make their own homemade soup, and then fry the onions, and they make the casserole. And I make them read the labels. I'm not making it, right? I'm encouraging this behavior, and they actually do it. I mean, they have so much fun doing it. And then week 7 is where they have to get something out of their pantry. And there's that website where you can take whatever's in your pantry, put it in there, and make a recipe. So they do that, and also I'm kind of at the period of processed foods, that sort of thing, you know, and being aware of what's in your food. So oftentimes the students are saying, oh, I don't think I'll ever eat that stuff again. So I'm hitting my goal with that one. Let me show you now. This is a little bit of, oops, where's my mouse? There it is. Okay, I hope this works. So I use this thing called a swivel. And a swivel is a device that you wear, that you put this tracking device on yourself. And then you have a little iPad that sits on this swivel. And so I was in my kitchen, and the swivel followed me around, okay? And so my department, or the ed tech department, lent this device to me. Oops. I'll show you a little bit of it. Hopefully the sound works. Nope. Oh well. But I'm in my kitchen, got the little swivel device on my neck. You could see the iPad sitting there. I'll have to narrate it for you. And it's about 23 minutes. I'm actually cooking this Moroccan dish. And I have my vino. And then my daughter, who's 22, is helping me. So she's talking. I think she was cutting up the cilantro right there. But it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. We had a really good time.
We're going to be demoing this in the next session after science across the hall too, if anybody wants to see what's in person.
Yeah. It was a really great way to make, oops. Come on. I swear to God, I know how to use computers.
That trackpad is weird.
Thank you. This. All right. So you can imagine, I take them step by step. I was surprised it did in one take. I said, forget it. I'm not going to keep doing this. You know, whatever I say, whatever comes to my mouth, I just did it. And there's a little picture you can see. So this dish incorporated olives. Oh, you have the recipe. Go home and make it. Olives and the preserved lemon and chicken and vegetables. But of course, like this block, I have a girl that's gluten-free, and she's really concerned. She wrote to me, she said, can I take this course? I said, absolutely, absolutely. My husband just discovered he's gluten-free. We will figure out ways for you to work around that, so don't worry about that. So you've got to be open to accommodations. Now, here's another example of using Kaltura. The other thing was the swivel device, and then we put it up in a thing called Kaltura. Kaltura is like the video repository. The Kaltura tool here, I use with the students to engage them and to talk to them back and forth. So I'll play this one. Oh, you won't hear it, but let me. Let's see. I wish you did hear her. My voice I could care less about, but she's adorable. This is Holly. She's in her kitchen as well. And she's telling us right now that in her family, she grew up with 6 brothers and sisters. Their family is Mennonite, their background. She had a lot of different farm foods. She's enjoying this course. She's so excited. She's a nurse too. And it was just an adorable example of a student. But they give, instead of typing their discussion boards, they now do it with video. They video their discussion boards and I video back and reply. And Russ always knows whenever I've replied back to everyone the next morning, he's like, you were online. Got like 40 replies. But it's a lot of fun using this tool because I think it's made the course I think I'm pressing too hard now. When you told me to press hard. So it's made the course a lot of fun. And I've even had students, if they choose to, they're getting more brave all the time. If you prefer to, like this example, if you prefer to videotape it instead of typing it up, you can do that. But how do I prove that they made the food that they said they would make? They have to take pictures. They take pictures of themselves holding their lemon jars. They take pictures of themselves with their Eggs Benedict, and now I'm getting pictures of their dogs with their food, pictures of them with their children. It's really neat. I had a lady, she was in the, and students love the online option because they could be traveling or whatever. She was in the Smoky Mountains, and as she was recording something, a black bear came by. So I've seen it all. Now, let's see. Well, I won't go into that yet. How much time do I have? Does anybody know?
10 minutes.
10 minutes? Okay, perfect. That's perfect. Couldn't have planned it better. All right. So, one thing that I tried this time, and that goes back to my attitude of having a lot of fun in the class. You know, I could have taken this book, had the lectures, and then had boring multiple choice questions at the end, right? But what I decided to do is each week they would do an activity for their kind of like quiz or memory of what they learned from the book or from the videos. So 1 week they make, and I can pass it around, we'll see if you can actually fill it out. They make crossword puzzles. So it's a Web 2.0 tool, where they make crossword puzzles. And they take, so this was lecture 22 through 26, and the student made this. They didn't make it. So what I have is I have the students make a crossword puzzle, and then they also complete one. And I do it all electronically. So it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of creative ways and things you can do to do assessments with your students beyond the traditional, memorize facts and regurgitate them through multiple choice questions and that sort of thing. Not a bad way to, but students get it, they get it all the time. So they can still, and they told me, like, I think it's higher on Bloom's taxonomy for sure. I did, though, one time I said, how about if you write the test questions for 1 week? Like, you write what questions I would give. Imagine how much harder that is to write the questions. 1 week they did something called My Histro. Have you ever heard of that? So it's a website called My Histro. And imagine that on this website, you're able to take a timeline, and on that timeline, place events. So they had to take those week's events through time and history, and then create these images and a little bit of a description of what happened throughout this time frame. So maybe they're in something like, I'm trying to think. Okay, Europe's Dark Ages. They're at that time frame. So they're placing on this timeline all these different events that happened that they learned from either watching the videos or reading the notes. So that's some of the things that I did with the assessments. I'm not going to pass this out, but at the end, each week there was like the food prep. Let me see if I can pull it up because it's such a shame. I want you to see the real course. All right, so here's the course. 7 weeks, like I said. I gave you the syllabus, so it's there. So imagine faculty contact, that's just about me. And I give out my cell phone, and students love to text, so I just text them back, it's easier. And then down here you can see where there's a quick link to the blog, the discussion board, in each week. So let me show you a typical week. Good, it's gonna open. All right, so there's the learning objectives. You should always want to have your learning objectives, what they'll learn, an introduction, and what they're going to do. And this is the systematic approach that we use at our university for all of our courses. So here you'll see there's the video lecture. I have a meet the author inside of there. Submit your address. There's a journal activity. And each week they have the featured cuisine, the food prep activity, and then in this particular instance they wrote quiz questions. But you can see the setup, so every single week looks like that, and I was very, I just stuck with it. It worked. Let me see if I can show you what it looks like inside of a week. So here's a week where they could register for Epicurious. There's the preserved lemon recipe and a place to submit their hummus recipe. All right, this is too painful. And then the final thing I'm going to show you or share, our university has a end of the course survey that they do, but you don't get the results forever in a day. So I actually wrote a 12-question survey just so I could get immediate feedback and find out from my students what they thought of the course. And then, so I just asked them these questions. I wanted to see what they thought was their favorite activity, their least favorite activity, what they thought of all the different parts. So I have some answers here of what the students said. You know, they really enjoyed it. They could tell how much time I put into the course. What I liked the best is that they said comments submitted on assignments gave me a feeling of comfort and lessened my anxiety returning after school for 30 years. she gave us a chance to get to know her despite being in an online course. And so that's my big belief. If I could get back there, I'd show you, like in my announcements, it was my anniversary one weekend, and I had pictures of where my husband took me out to dinner. I always tied it back. It was Philadelphia Restaurant Week that week, and I told him where to go. Or there was another week where there was a Polish festival, so I gave him directions to that. And then the post office came out with chef stamps another week. So I always have pictures and announcements that are creative, and I tell them about myself. And my dad, unfortunately, recently was in the hospital, so it's real life, and they have real life. Oh, and I like this one too. She encourages students to be themselves when completing assignments versus adding a lot of unnecessary fluff to what they are saying, and a lot of work. So what was their least favorite activity? Less history, more international cooking. So they said at first that they loved the videos, but they got really tired of it, of the professor that was giving the lectures. My histro, that one that I love so much, they couldn't do it as well. They had a really difficult time with the technology of that. And if they didn't like one girl says she doesn't like the scholarly article. They prefer cooking. Their favorite was the food preps. Closing the loop after hearing the lectures and reviewing the folder with videos and pictures from each country, so they liked that. They enjoyed that video that I did with the tagine. And then, so I'm going to just summarize now. I always believe every time you create a course, you have to immediately go back and try to make it as best as you can, so you change things depending on what the student said. So, of course, I think what I'd like to do is, if I feel confident enough, like replace these videos, maybe I could make some. Yeah, we'll see. Remove the My History assignment, or maybe improve the direction so that they do have the technical skills and ability to make it. It's not necessary. Like, I could come up with something else. If it's that much of a problem, I got to give it up. Use the Blackboard rubrics. I really need to go back and start using those rubrics. Like I didn't share this with you, but if you want, you're welcome to it. Like, here's an example of how I would grade a PowerPoint presentation. Everything always has certain points. You have to say exactly what they need to do, how many slides, references, title slide, what's it worth. So I have these lovely sheets, but then I'd like to use the Blackboard tool. The journal tool in Blackboard has been clunky. I don't know if anybody else has had problems with that, but I think I might just replace that with the assignment tool. I have enjoyed the blogs, because the blogs put the assignment just like what I showed here out on the page for you to grade, so it makes it easier. And I think that's it. Any questions or ideas?
So your personal wiki page would be actually, I think, more appropriate than an assignment tool. They could actually post things just between you and them, if that's what you wanted.
I want them to see other students' work, like where they're going and what they're seeing.
The wiki page probably.
The wiki page could do that, but I don't want anyone to change their work. You see what I'm saying? I want it to be their personal blog of the experience. Yes.
I think, did you say that the spice mix, the ras al hanout, you make that and then you deliver it to the warehouse and they pack it with everybody's package? It's very cool. Especially that they're getting like personal interaction from you, even like in their package and stuff.
Yeah, it's neat because you can't buy that. It's always a special mix depending on where you're at. That spice mix. However, I did find it online to because I was sitting here grinding it the morning that it was due, and then I sniffed it, and it all went up in flavor. I was like, oh my gosh.
You really need smell-o-vision too.
I know, I need smell-o-vision, yes.
You talked about where you got the book and the videos from the group in Stanford. What was that called?
The great courses. The great courses.
The great courses.
The great courses. And just so you know, they are great. Like personally, my husband and I get them all the time, and then we're in the car and we listen to them on travels, and it's lectures like, well, he's boring, he likes economics, and I'm bored to tears. But you can get any topic known to man of these great courses. And they really are great. The lectures, I mean, Professor Alba, he is unbelievable. Like, There's so much I learned about the trade of spices and why things turned out the way they did and why people eat the way they do, the rituals. And I won't replace this. Probably the students don't want to watch it, I know, but I will not give that academic part up. Yeah, they'll whine, they'll complain, but it's amazing. I mean, he takes you straight from paleo, like caveman times, all the way through history. He just weaves in so many facts and so much information. It's very like cultural anthropology. Any other questions?
I like
Sally's,
that.
Sally's video is available publicly too.
Oh,
If anybody wanted to
okay.
see that, it's on our public facing portal as well.
So you have a recipe, make the tagine, and make sure you have a little vino with it.
Yeah, you could watch and follow along, just like the cooking show.
Thank
Full
you.
screen.
Yeah, sorry about the technology.
Oh.
You know, everybody else got through it. It was like-
I don't know why. I mean,